Follow the trend, tend to benefit while avoiding harm. Hello everyone, this is Mr. D. Today I want to introduce how to analyze the 4 lessons. The composition of the first and second lessons in the 4 lessons comes from the heavenly stem of the predicted date, and the composition of the third and fourth lessons in the 4 lessons comes from the terrestrial branch of the predicted date. Therefore, the first and second lessons represent yang, and the third and fourth lessons represent yin. Yin and yang can represent all things in the world, so the 4 lessons can represent all things in the world. The role of the 4 lessons is a link between the previous and the next. Because the generation of the 4 lessons is due to the date of the divination and the heaven plate and the earth plate, and the first transmission of the 3 transmissions is based on the 4 lessons in most cases. In order to call the 4 lessons more conveniently, we generally refer to the first and second lessons as the stem, and the third and fourth lessons as the branch. Depending on the type of divination, the stem and the branch represents different people or things. The stem represents motion and the branch represents stillness. The stem represents active, the branch represents passive. The stem represents high social status. The branch represents low social status. The stem represents the older elders, and the branch represents the younger juniors. The stem represents the top of the direction, and the branch represents the bottom of the direction. The stem represents land, and the branch represents water. The stem represents living beings, and the branch represents inanimate things. The stem represents living, and the branch represents dead. The stem represents hot, and the branch represents cold. If the divination is about marriage, the stem represents the husband, and the branch represents the wife. If the divination is about 2 colleagues, if their positions are the same, the stem represents the older, the branch represents the younger. If their positions are not the same, the stem represents the higher position, the branch represents the lower position. If the divination is about parents, the stem represents the father, and the branch represents the mother. If the divination is about sons and daughters, the stem is for sons and the branch is for daughters. In the actual prediction, which side the stem and the branch represent, we should also flexibly make judgments based on the images they show. Don't be limited by the common routines I mentioned above. In most cases, the symbols below the first lesson represent the litigant, questioner, the person, that thing. For example, when divination is about disease, the symbols below the first lesson represent the patient itself. When divination is about someone's luck, the symbols below the first lesson represent persons to be predicted. When divination is about whether someone can get money for something, the symbols below the first lesson represent the person who asks for money. When divination is about someone's travel, the symbols below the first lesson represent the person who is going to travel. When divination is about someone's pregnancy and birth, the symbols below the first lesson represent the fetus and the branch represents the mother. When divination is about war, the symbols below the first lesson represent the attacking side. When divination about 2 people, the symbol under the first lesson represents the active party. For example, someone comes to me, then the symbol under the first lesson represents the person who came to me. When divination is about someone opening a store, the symbol under the first lesson represents the person who opened the store, and the branch represents the store. Depending on the type of divination, the first thing we need to judge is which side the stem represents and which side the branch represents. In predicting things about two people, in the 4 lessons, the symbol below the first lesson represents the predicted person, and the symbol above the first lesson we called the young spirit. The young spirit represents the state of the things of the predicted person, the situation of the predicted person, the luck of the predicted person, the thoughts of the predicted person, the relationships of the predicted person. These are the things that we can see on the surface. The symbol above the second lesson is called the yin spirit. The yin spirit represents the real reason behind the state of things, or the inner thoughts of the predicted person. The symbol at the bottom of the third lesson represents another person, and the symbol at the top of the third lesson we also called the yang spirit. And this yang spirit represents another person's state, another person's situation, another person's luck, another person's thoughts, another person's relationships. These are the things that we can see on the surface. The symbol above in the 4th lesson is also called the yin spirit. This yin spirit represents the true cause of another person's state, or the inner thoughts of another person. We can even determine the quality of the relationship between the two people by the relationship between the branch and the symbol below or above the first lesson. In the previous video, I have already introduced how the 4 lessons are generated. You can easily find that the stem and the branch are 2 to 3 transmissions. The symbol below the first lesson is the first transmission. The symbol above the first lesson is the middle transmission, and the symbol above the second lesson is the last transmission. The symbol below the third lesson is the first transmission. The symbol above the third lesson is the middle transmission, and the symbol above the 4th lesson is the last transmission. Don't equate the 4 lessons with the 3 transmissions. The 4 lessons are relative static, and the 3 transmissions is full of dynamics. Any 2 symbols in the 4 lessons can interact with each other, and these effects can be summarized into 4 categories. Up-down interaction. The upper symbol of the first lesson interacts with the lower symbol. The upper symbol of the second lesson interacts with the lower symbol. The upper symbol of the third lesson interacts with the lower symbol. The upper symbol of the 4th lesson interacts with the lower symbol. Cross-interaction. The symbol below the first lesson interacts with the symbol above the third lesson, and the symbol below the third lesson interacts with the symbol above the first lesson. Lateral interaction. The symbol above the first lesson interacts with the symbol above the third lesson, and the symbol below the first lesson interacts with the symbol below the third lesson. Remote interaction. The symbol below the first lesson interacts with the symbol above the 4th lesson, and the symbol below the third lesson interacts with the symbol above the second lesson. The strength of the interaction of the symbols in the 4 lessons in descending order are up-down interaction, lateral interaction, cross-interaction, remote interaction. The relationship between the symbols in the 4 lessons is a key point for us to judge the future direction of things. First of all, you have to locate what the stem represents and what the branch represents, and then carefully observe what each symbol of the 4 lessons represents, and the relationship between them, and their relationship with the symbol below in the first lesson. Next, I will give an example to help you understand how to analyze the 4 lessons. I use this course as an example. Suppose our divination is about the luck of someone's life. The symbol below the first lesson represents a predicted person, and the symbol above the first lesson represents the personality of the predicted person. The symbol above the first lesson is H, and its celestial is the hollow sky. The character represented by the hollow sky is that this person is kind but lazy. serious, and doesn't like to smile. He has few friends and only associates with a few specific friends. He is not keen on fame and interests, and will not betray his principles in order to earn a little money. The hollow sky represents eloquence. Wood restricts earth, so age is kills the wife and wealth. From this combination, we can infer that the predicted person is relying on eloquence to make money. The predicted person may be a teacher, lawyer, salesman, etc. In this course, the branch represents the family. The F in the symbol above in the third lesson, the celestial of F is the great tradition. The great tradition represents the family, because fire generates earth, F generates H, which means that the parents love the predicted person very much. The predicted person's parents were very helpful to the predicted person. The three transmissions represent the life experience of the predicted person. The first transmission is the beginning stage of the predicted person's life. The middle one is the middle stage of the predicted person's life, and the last one is the last stage of the predicted person's life. The first transmission is A, and A's celestial is the winged snake. This combination is called the snake entering the water and becoming a dragon. The dragon is a very good symbol in Chinese culture. Because A's heavenly stem in this course is Q, so A is the first day of the Xun it is in, and the first is always good. From these conditions, we can infer that in predicted person's youth, although the predicted person's family background is not very good, but through continuous efforts, the predicted person will have a successful career. At least, the predicted person will be a grassroots leader. Although the winged snake represents a low status, after the winged snake meets water, it becomes a dragon, which means that although the predicted person has a low social status, he will continue to work hard and achieve success. A is the first day of the Xun it is in. The first has the meaning of leadership, so we can speculate that the predicted person was a grassroots leader in his youth. The middle transmission is F, and its celestial is the great tradition. The great tradition represents marriage, promotion, and frequent reunion with parents. The last transmission is K. K represents the seal, which is the certificate of ancient Chinese officials. K is empty and death in this Xun. It is like an official lost his position. We can infer from this, the predicted person retired in old age. If this divination is about sickness, the sick person will die. Because the symbol above in the first lesson is H, H is the tomb of wood. H's celestial is the hollow sky, which is like a small mound piled up on a flat ground, which is very similar to a tomb. If this divination is about someone traveling, because the symbol above in the first lesson is H, and H is the tomb of wood, because the tomb represents stop, so people who want to travel will not go out. The reason is to see what H's celestial is. It is the hollow sky, and the hollow sky represents laziness. According to this, we can infer that the reason why he doesn't go out is his own laziness. There are many ways to analyze the four lessons. Please don't rigidize your thinking. I just provide the most widely used method. Please expand your imagination according to the various images represented by each symbol and the relationship between them, and predict the future of things in combination with the actual situation. Subscribe. Be your own prophet.